afternoon, depending on your time zone. So the title of this session is Implementing Microsoft Teams Governance using Power Automate, Microsoft Graph APIs, and SharePoint. Who am I? My name is Prashant G. Boyer. Was born and raised in India. Came to United States in 2007 for studies. And University of Maryland College Park alumni. I co-authored a book, PowerShell for Office 365. I also acted as a technical reviewer for the book Pro SharePoint 2013 Administration. I am from Washington, D.C. area of United States, and we organize a lot of community conferences focus on various product areas in Microsoft ecosystem, starting from Microsoft 365, Power Platform, Azure AI, bots, machine learning, data science, and also on SQL Server. So if you are interested joining us, just check us out on meetup.com. I am recipient of Antarctic Service Medal, and since 2017, I am recipient of Microsoft MVP Award as well. Those of you who are not familiar with Microsoft MVP Award, so I don't work for Microsoft. It's just the additional recognition that Microsoft gives out to the folks who does technical contributions. And these technical contributions can be in the form of writing blog posts, speaking at the conferences, writing books, answering people's questions on various public forums, creating training content and putting them on YouTube or any other streaming platform, or directly providing feedback to the Microsoft product group. This award is only valid for 12 months, and after 12 months, you have to submit for renewal. And if your contributions are good enough, then you get rewarded for additional 1 year. So for first couple of years, I was an MVP in Office 365 apps and services, especially SharePoint. But since 2019, I changed my category to AI. And right now I work as a lead solution architect with Witham. Witham is an advisory, audit, and tax firm based in United States. We have offices throughout the US, and recently we opened office in Bangalore as well. And I focus on intelligent automation. And when it comes to intelligent automation, we use variety of the products and services that are available in Microsoft ecosystem, starting from Microsoft 365, Power Platform, Azure AI, and bots. As I mentioned, I worked with Witham's US of Washington, DC office. This is a quick introduction about our company. We have done 100 plus Microsoft Cloud deployments. We have two Microsoft MVPs on the staff. We have 50 plus consultants dedicated to Microsoft ecosystem only, and we are providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 17 years. These are some of the capabilities that we have in the group that I work for. As I mentioned, if you're interested in joining us, you can definitely check us out these links. So the agenda for this particular session is we'll talk about maybe a minute what are some of the key components of Microsoft Teams is, and then we'll directly jump on talking about automated governance for Microsoft Teams and how we can use Power Automate and Graph API for that automation. We'll also talk about logic apps, demos, key takeaways, and I know everyone is virtual right now, and I'm using two screens. So while I'm conducting this session, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat window. Every now and then I will be monitoring that, and also we have Raz and rest of the organizers who can remind me if there is any question that is not answered yet. So when it comes to Teams or Microsoft Teams, its usage has skyrocketed, especially since COVID-19 pandemic has started. So these are some of the standard functionality we get with Teams. We can do chat, we have Teams and channels, we get meetings, we get voice, apps, bots, and connector. And when it comes to governance, we have two options. We can have a governance done manually as well. Some of the companies do that. Or you can also use some of the features that are available for automated governance. So this particular session is focused on automated governance. So why we should consider automated governance? So it helps you to ensure consistency. It helps you to empower the users. And one of the key factor, if you go with automation, is it reduces the admin overhead. Typically, in most of the organization, you will have 2 or 3 admins, and along with governance, they also have other responsibilities as well. And if you have some kind of automation via a third-party tool or maybe a customization that's built in-house, that helps to reduce the overhead on admins, they will highly appreciate that. So when it comes to automated governance, these are the options available to us out of the box. Again, some of the options you need to pay some additional licenses, but we have retention policies. We can have security groups for Teams creation. We can have expiration policies, and we can also have team naming policies. So it is extremely important to have team naming policies, because depending on the size of your organization, if you allow everyone to create a team and there is no proper naming policy, then you will have like tons and tons of teams where it will be impossible to figure out what this team is for unless you actually talk with the owner and find that information. Because whenever you create a new team, along with Microsoft Teams, is also create Office 365 group and a SharePoint site collection as well. So along with that, it's extremely important that you have expiration policies for Teams, especially if you're using Teams for collaboration. I have seen a lot of instances where we create a team for some testing purpose, we just forgot, and that team just sits there in your tenant, and nobody just care to look after that. And I don't know whether you have noticed that or not. In your Teams client, if you are not using any team, that team will get downgraded and it will be displayed below in the list. So that way, if you forgot about something, most chances are you'll never visit that team. So it's very important to have some expiration policies where if a team is no longer in use or if you don't need it, it automatically get removed from your tenant. So for the content expiration, typically out of the box, the owner gets notified via email that their team or group is expiring, and those notifications get sent out like 30 days before expiration, 15 days. And that notification gives the owner an option to renew the life of the team or group. And for some reason, if the admin forgets to take the action and that team gets deleted automatically, then the admins have up to 30 days to restore that. After that, the team will be gone forever. That's why it's really important that you have multiple owners in your team. Like especially if you're using that team for collaboration, sometimes we always forget that whenever we're creating something for testing or you create a team, I'm the owner and I'm just adding a few other members. But over the course of time, make sure you have other co-owners as well. So that way you can divide the responsibilities. In case you are on vacation, then someone else can come there on your behalf and come there and then take appropriate actions. So we can also have security groups for teams creation. When it comes to the team creation, there are two kinds of philosophies available. If you ask Microsoft, they want everyone to create a new team, but depending on the size of your organization, depending on your user type, some organizations prefer that there should be a stricter control over who should be able to create team. So if you would like to restrict who should be able to create team, you can use security groups for teams creator, where if I'm a member of the security group, then only then I can able to create a new team. Rest of the members, if you are not part of that group, then they will not be able to create a new team. However, if you go check the details of this automated governance options, it comes with added licenses. Like for example, you need Azure AD Premium Plan 1 to supplement teams naming policies, expiration policies, and security groups for teams creator. Now, depending on what kind of Microsoft 365 subscription you have, you may already have Azure AD Premium included in your license. But let's say if you don't have that, then you have to purchase that separately in case you would like to use this automated governance options. And also, if you need to have Office 365 Enterprise E3 or above for creating retention policy. Now, what if you don't have access to these licenses and you would like to build a solution? Now, when it comes to building a solution, you always have two options. You can either buy a third-party application. There are a lot of vendors out there who have governance products available, or you can also build in-house as well. So in this session, we are going to cover like how quickly you can build a automated governance solution by using the combination of SharePoint, Power Automate, and Microsoft Graph API. So not many people know, but there is a concept in the Teams available called Teams template. And they work similarly, just like we used to have in SharePoint templates, where you can define what kind of a source definition of your SharePoint site, like what kind of list and libraries it will have, and what kind of pages and other stuff it will have. And if you save that site as a template, and if you create a new site from it, then the newly created site will have exactly the similar structure. Now that particular feature is still available in SharePoint on-prem. It is not possible in SharePoint Online. And if you want to do that similar thing, you have to go with PNP engine for that. But same concept available with Teams, where we'll have pre-built definition for a team that includes channel and apps. And these are some of the properties that are supported as part of the Teams template. Like we can have team name, team description, visibility, settings, installed apps, and team tabs. And these are the properties that are not supported yet. And these are some of the templates that are available to us. By default, when you don't select any template, it will be using a standard template. That means when the teams get created, it will be a blank team with only a general channel. But there are some base templates available, and you can create your own as well. For example, if you want to have a template where if a user is using that template, then automatically some tabs should be added, some channels should be added, then you can use the templates for that. So let's see the application that we will be designing. Very simple approach. Again, this is just to give you an idea of what can be done. And then you can use these ideas and then build a sophisticated enterprise grade application. So to request a new team, a user will need to submit a form. Again, that form can be a SharePoint form or Office 365 form or a Power App or any other type of form that you would like to use. The most important thing is where exactly that request will get saved, because that's where we'll need to integrate the automation. So the forms can be created with Office 365 forms, SharePoint, Power Apps, or third-party products. And once the form is submitted, we will start an approval. And if the request gets approved, then we will create a team automatically with proper naming convention and using a proper the template of our choice. So there's the simple design that we will be implementing now. So when it comes to automate provisioning Microsoft Teams automatically, these are the options available to us right now. So you can use the combination of Flow or Microsoft Power Automate, and from that you can call Microsoft Graph API. However, depending on what kind of license you have for Power Automate, if you are using Power Automate as part of your Microsoft 365 license, then to call Graph API, you need to sign up for premium license. You can use combination of Flow plus Microsoft Graph APIs and Azure Function. Again, you will need a Power Automate premium license and Azure subscription for Azure Functions. You can do the same thing with Azure API apps as well, or you can use combination of Logic Apps plus Microsoft Graph API. For that, you will need Azure subscription only. You can use the combination of Logic Apps, Graph APIs, and Azure Functions, or combination of Logic Apps, Microsoft Graph API, and Azure API apps. If you don't have access to Power Automate Premium, or if you don't have access to Azure, you can also use the combination of PowerShell script, and from that PowerShell script, you can call Microsoft Graph API, or you can use a console application that is running somewhere on the server, and that console application calls a Microsoft Graph API, and then you create a team automatically. Again, I don't recommend the last two options. And you can only consider those if you don't have access to Power Automate Premium or you don't have access to Azure. So in this session, we are going to cover two examples, like how to automate using combination of Flow and Microsoft Graph API and combination of Logic Apps and Microsoft Graph API. So before I go any further, any questions or comments so far? And again, feel free to post your questions in the chat window. I don't think so. You can unmute yourself. So I think the chat is the only option for you. All right. So I know majority of you may be already familiar with what Microsoft Power Automate is. So I will be brief. So it is one of the products available under Microsoft Power Platform, and we use Power Automate for process automation. And it comes with more than 300 connectors, and those connectors are for other SaaS applications, Microsoft services, and you can also connect your own on-premises services or other cloud services using custom connectors as well. And there is a big list of templates available. I specifically recommend you to use templates, especially if you're new to the Power Automate, because using templates will give you an idea how, if I had to implement a certain type of automation using combination of 2 or 3 products, how you can do that, because a lot of things will be already predefined for you. You just have to go and, or a lot of actions will be predefined for you. You just have to go to these actions and then configure those. However, once you get comfortable using Power Automate, I recommend not to use a template. and I have my own reasons for it, because what happens is every time if there is a new version of action, for example, there is a new version of action to send emails, the templates may not necessarily get updated with the new version of action. The template may be still using the old version of action. In that case, if what you can do is on one screen you can use the old, you can open the old template, and on the new screen, a second screen, you can start creating your Power Automate from scratch, and just taking the reference of that, you will add actions manually. So that way you will be adding the latest and greatest actions. So now let's talk about what is a Microsoft Graph API. So Microsoft Graph API, again, it's API, and it's a gateway to the data and intelligence in Microsoft 365. One of the key advantage of Microsoft Graph API is it offers you a single endpoint, which is graph.microsoft.com, to provide you the access to rich people-centric data and insights exposed as a resources for Microsoft 365. So before Microsoft Graph API, let's say in Microsoft 365, we have a lot of different services. We have Exchange, we have SharePoint, we have Planner, we have Teams, we have Groups. So let's say if there is no Microsoft Graph API available, then if I had to access SharePoint data, then my only option available is to use SharePoint REST APIs. And the URL for that will be different as compared to, let's say in the same application, I have to call the Graph API, the Exchange API, the URL for that is different. If I had to call the APIs for, let's say, Planner, the underlying the Planner APIs will be different. So what Microsoft has done is they have created a top API, which is called graph.microsoft.com. And using that API, then you can request various assets. Like I can request the data from SharePoint. I can request data from Exchange. And I, as a developer, doesn't have to know or understand or what kind of URL requests I have to make. Those kind of requests to the individual product specific APIs will be made by Microsoft Graph. So the usage and the other thing gets so simplified with the Microsoft Graph API that no longer the days where, for each product you had to remember, okay, I have to make this call to the SharePoint. Now I have to construct a different URL, different request. No, that's not the case anymore. Everything is bundled in the Graph API called with the endpoint URL graph.microsoft.com. So it exposes the REST APIs and client libraries, and you can access the data if that data is stored in Delve, Excel, Microsoft Bookings, Teams, OneDrive, OneNote, SharePoint, Workplace Analytics. And even if your data is related to the security and enterprise mobility, you can access that. And you can also access Dynamics 365 Business Central data as well using Microsoft Graph API. So now let's go to the demo section of this talk. And while I'm doing the demo, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. So what I will be doing is, if you are using two screens, I will recommend that you also follow these steps along with me. And just for the sake of subtitles, I will be resizing this window. So use your favorite browser and use your favorite search engine and just search for Microsoft Graph API. And this is the first link you will be getting. Use Microsoft Graph API. Click on it. And let me see, everything is fine. Yes. So if you are really interested in Microsoft Graph API, I definitely recommend you to bookmark this link. So what you will find is on the left-hand navigation, you will see a lot of options available. And if you scroll down, then you will see the individual APIs that are available to us. And on the top of the right section of the page, you see a button called Graph Explorer. Click on that. Now, Graph Explorer is a product or tool provided by Microsoft, and it's an open source tool. But this is a really good tool, and it comes really handy, especially if you are using Microsoft Graph API. So what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to execute the Graph APIs in the browser window itself. And by default, I think I should start this as incognito. So let me do that real quick. So by default, this particular Explorer comes with some demo data from a demo tenant. And this in the middle section, you see like what kind of different operations we can do: get, post, put, patch, delete. And in the second box, we have what kind of version of APIs we can call. Version 1.0 is basically anything that is not beta is available, generally available. And then here you can manually enter this respective URI. And then you can add the contents as part of your request body, request header. And once you click run query, and if the call to the REST API or Graph API is successful, you'll see the response in the bottom section here. And if you scroll down towards the left-hand side of this Explorer, you'll see there are a lot of pre-built calls available for you. You just have to click on these buttons, and whatever the call you have to make to get the specific information will be available here. For example, if I click on get my profile, so you can see here automatically that call has been made. Now, if I had to click on get my photo, and just watch for this particular thing, the URI will change. So if I click on get my photo, so as you can see, this is the URI, a request URI I had to do to get my photo. Again, all the calls are happening in the demo tenant against the test data. That's why you're seeing someone else's picture and not mine. And if we scroll down, there are other calls available which are grouped under Teams, To Do, OneDrive, OneNote, and there are SharePoint, security, etc. Now, let's say you like this tool and you would like to play with this Graph API, but now you would like to use your own tenant's data. What you can do is you just need to click on sign in to Graph Explorer. And as long as you have a valid Microsoft 365 account, you can do that. And once you do, then you basically, once you successfully provide your ID and password, you will see that you are logged in. And now if I do any kind of call, for example, if I try to get my photo, and if the photo is not there, that's why I got this failure. But if I do get profile, and if I scroll down, it will show me all the information that is available to related to my profile, my email address, my display name, and other stuff. And there are various calls you can make. Like for example, now to create a team, if I go to the teams, like these are the various calls which are available. Like if I click on post create, then this is the call we had to make to create a new team. It will be a post operation version 1.0. This is the call we had to make. And as part of the request, these are the request body. These are the parameters we have to pass. For example, first we need to pass what kind of template we have to use. So by default, this call comes with the standard. But if I have any other template, I can use that. The display name, the description, and if I click run query, and if this gets executed, and if I have proper permission to create a team, a new team will get created. So this using this Explorer, you can find out, you can quickly test the APIs. But let's say you're totally new to Graph API, and now you would like to find out what kind of API call I have to make to create a new team. So for that, let's go to Microsoft Graph API, and then just go here. And in the left-hand navigation, then you can find the various APIs. For example, let's say teamwork. So if you see, like most of the APIs are list groups are grouped depending on what kind of APIs they are there, like search, security. What we are interested is in Microsoft Teams, which are grouped under teamwork. So if I expand that, so here you will see a different list of APIs that are available that we can do. So if I click on create a team, create a group or a team, then I will be redirect to this particular page. And on this page, you will find detailed information. If I had to create a team using Microsoft Graph API, what are some of the things I had to do? So for example, here you are getting this HTTP post method to create a new group. And if you scroll down, then here you'll be seeing like a different operations you can do. Like if I had to add a member, then what kind of parameters I have to pass, what will be the request URL, and all those kind of different things. So now this was like a quick overview of the Microsoft Graph API. Now let me quickly show you the implementation first, like the final product, and then I will show you how to build that from the ground up. So here what I have is a simple SharePoint list, which is an out of the box list, and I have added few columns to it. And let me click on new. And what we will do is we will submit 2 requests. OK, and I will explain you why I'm submitting 2 requests. So let's call this as M365 collaboration 01. And let's call it as for IT support, and the department here is IT. And let's quickly save it. And let's select one. Let's create one more. Let's call it as M65 collaboration. Purpose is for sales, and the department here is sales. And you see here, I have purposefully added a drop down here, and by default, Microsoft Flow is selected. But in this case, I'm going to select Microsoft Logic App, and I will explain you why that's the reason. And just click Save. So what will happen is the moment I will submit this, there is an automation running in the backend. One automation is running using Microsoft Flow, and second automation is running Microsoft Logic Apps. So let's quickly take a look at the first automation, which is using Microsoft Flow here. So this is the flow I have created. And if I click on edit here, so this flow starts whenever a new request gets added into that particular team request list, which is very straightforward. And then what we do is we initialize a bunch of variables. First is Azure AD application ID, then Azure AD directory tenant ID, Azure AD client secret. And if I expand this checkbox condition, so first thing we do is we check whether the automation scenario we have selected is Microsoft Flow or not. If it is Microsoft Flow, then we start a standard approval. And if the request gets approved, then we do a call to the Graph API using HTTP action. And then using this API, then we create a new team. Now let's talk about why we need to declare these three variable at the top. All right. So to call Microsoft Graph from any application, you have to do some kind of authentication and authorization. And the recommended approach is you register your app in Azure Active Directory, and then using that app, then you convey to the Microsoft Graph API that the request is coming from a genuine application and not from some a suspicious location. So to register an app, what you have to do is you just have to go to portal.azure.com. And again, it's very straightforward thing you have to do. I know most of the people who use Power Automate does not want to deal with Azure at all. So if you are in that port, what you can do is you can just request your IT to register an app with few steps. So first thing we'll be doing is clicking on Azure Active Directory here. And in the left-hand navigation, click on App Registrations. And then click on New Registration. Let's call it as M65 Collaboration Bootcamp 2021. And then you have to select what kind of accounts can use this app. So by default, accounts in organization directory only is selected, but you can also use other combination as well. In our scenario, since we are going to use this app for the creation of team, I don't want to expose this to anyone else outside of my organization. So I'll just go with the first option here. And then you just click on register. And the app will get registered in few seconds. And once the app is registered, there are a couple of things you will need to note down. So first thing we need to note down the client ID or application ID. Note that down and store in a notepad. Second thing is you need the directory or tenant ID. Copy that. The next thing we need is to use some kind of authentication here. So we have two options. If you in the left-hand navigation, if you click on certificates and secrets, so we can do that using client secrets. So client secrets work similar like a password. That means you will using the combination of client ID, directory ID, and client secrets, you can make the request. Or there is a more secure method available called using certificates. However, to configure certificate-based authentication, you need to follow a lot of steps. If you are interested in trying that out, I highly recommend you to check a blog post by Bob German. Bob German is a community champion. He used to be Microsoft MVP before, but now he works at Microsoft in the cloud advocacy group. So he has a really detailed blog post detailing all the steps you have to do in case you would like to use certificate-based authentication. So for this demo, I'll be going with client secrets. So let's click on new secret. Let's give it as a name, M65 collaboration. And let's select the duration. So use the best practices. Don't let have your client secret running like active for maybe 10 years or 15 years, because that's not a good practice at all. So have like choose a duration that will work best for you, and make sure after that during that duration you again renew it. So I'm going to go ahead with 6 months right now, and then just copy this particular value and store that somewhere. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to supply the permission to this app. So by default, in the left-hand navigation, if you click on API permission, user read is assigned by default. But if you click on this button, add a permission, here Microsoft Graph is available at the top. But if you scroll down, there's a list of different Microsoft services listed here. For example, Azure Data Catalog, Intune, OneNote, SharePoint, Yammer, then Azure Badge, and excuse me, there are many other services mentioned here. In our case, since we will be using Microsoft Graph API, I'll be clicking on that. And then it will ask you what kind of permission your application requires, whether it's a delegate permission or application permission. So in our case, since our Power Automate is going to run in the backend, I'll be going with application permission. And then here you have option, and different levels of permissions are grouped together. And if you scroll down, there is like a really big list. You don't have to remember, you just can go to the search box here and start typing. For example, I'm more interested in Teams. And then it shows me all the options available, different types of options available for the teams. So if I click on team here, then these are the two options available, whether to create a team or not. I'll be selecting that and then click add permission. And the next thing I'll be doing is whether I would like to grant admin consent for it or not. I'll be clicking yes. And that's it. So I'm done with my part in Azure AD. Now I'll go back to the Power Automate. Now coming back to Power Automate, first we have a trigger, like what will trigger this Power Automate. Then we are initializing bunch of variables here. The first variable here is application ID, second is directory tenant ID, and third is client secret. And then we are specifying what's the automation scenario. And then we are starting the out of the box approval action in Power Automate. And if that gets approved, then we are calling the get user profile. And here we are supplying the email address of the person who submitted this request. The reason we had to do that because to this Microsoft Graph API, we need to provide the user's unique identifier as part of the owner's data or the member's data. And the email address will not work. That's why we had to make this call to the user profile service and then get the user's unique identifier. And then we make a post call. The method is post. Then this is the URI, and this is the information we are passing as part of the body. So the template we are going here is standard template. And when it comes to the name of the team, we are using the combination of department and the title. Again, you can use any combination that you would like to use here. If you have any other convention, you can use that as well. And if the call is successful, then a new team will get created. Now let's go back. And when it comes to the Power Automate approval, you have two options to take action. I can either go in the Power Automate UI and look for all the approvals that are assigned to me, or I can go to my mailbox and or I can use my email mailbox to take the action. So yeah, as you can see here, I can either go here and take the action on this request, or I can go to my mailbox here and look at this email and take the action here. So in this case, I'll be using the Power Automate UI. I'll be saying, OK, this is approved, and then confirm. And if everything is fine, then the Power Automate will run, and it should create a new team for us using the REST API. So while this is running, any questions or any comments so far? So looks like this was succeeded. So if I go back to my teams here, and if I do refresh, I should be able to see a new team got created. So let me go here, and there should be a team with M65 collaboration, and the first department we selected was IT. So let's see. So as you can see here, it started with department name, which was IT and M65 collaboration. And again, it uses the standard template. That means it only has a general channel and nothing else. Any questions or comments so far?
Hello. Yes, there is one question by Mandela who's asking, is it possible to trigger the flow from an SMS text or a phone call?
Excellent question. I think there are some services available. You need to check Twilio, which offers that service, whether there is a connector available for Twilio in Power Automate. So as long as the connector is there, we should be able to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Or you can build your own custom connector as well. If let's say there is no third-party connector available, you can build your own connector as well. So now let's go back here. One thing that you will find interesting in this particular flow is if I go here and click edit and click on condition and then click on this HTTP. Now let me go ahead and try to add another HTTP action. So if I click on HTTP, you see here, the moment I click on it, it shows me, it shows me that it is not a free, action. It's a premium action. What does that mean is if I have to use HTTP action to call the Microsoft Graph API, I need to have a premium license for Power Automate. What if I don't have access to premium license for Power Automate? Then there is another option available to us. So let's quickly cover that. So there is another product available in Microsoft ecosystem. It is part of Azure. It is called Logic Apps. And Logic Apps helps you to schedule, automate, and orchestrate workflows and tasks in the Azure. It's a de facto workflow engine in Microsoft Azure. It's built on serverless principles, scales automatically to meet the demand. And there are many features it has which are similar to Power Automate. For example, everything begins with a trigger. There are many connectors available across the cloud and on-premise, and you can build your own custom connectors as well. Now, the description of Logic Apps sounds very similar to Power Automate, and there is a reason for it because these two products are connected to each other. So Azure is Microsoft public cloud offering, and Logic Apps is part of the Azure. And when Power Automate or that time it used to call Microsoft Flow was launched in 2016, Power Automate or Microsoft Flow is built on the top of Logic Apps. And there was a lot of features that were pretty much common to both of the product. That means pretty much everything we could do in Power Automate, we could use to do that in Logic Apps. However, over the course of last 5 years, Power Automate added its own feature sets as well. However, the designer, a lot of actions and trigger are still the same for Logic Apps and Power Automate. And Power Automate now has some additional actions and additional things we can do. For example, we can create business process flows, cloud flows, desktop flows, and there are some additional actions like SharePoint approvals, which are only available in Power Automate and not Logic Apps. However, the designer, the trigger, and everything is still common between Logic Apps and Power Automate. And if you're interested, whenever your Power Automate runs, behind the scene, it uses the Logic App runtime. So what Microsoft has done is they added a wrapper on the top of Logic App, and then they create Power Automate. And Power Automate made more power user and more user friendly and more power user friendly, and targeted for people who likes to live in low code, no code tool sets. So now I have a screen here, and in one screenshot, I have implemented the exact same business logic using Power Automate. And in another screenshot, I have implemented the exact same business logic using Logic Apps. Now, can anyone from the audience would like to take a guess which one is Logic Apps and which one is a Power Automate? And again, there is a clue in the screenshot that can give away like which is Power Automate and which one Logic App. Anyone would like to quickly take a guess? Just type your response in the chat window. Anyone? Wow, looks like either. All right. Okay, so if I let me. Yes, looks very similar, Michael. But still, if you would like to take a random guess, what just pick a number. Which one is Power Automate, left or right? So which one is built using Power Automate and which one is built using Logic App? In this two screenshot, this one and this one. Which one is Logic Apps and which one is Power Automate? Okay, so Michael is saying the left one is Power Automate. Yes, because there is a clue there. Like you typically see new step and save in Power Automate. But if you look at this screenshot, so this one is from Logic Apps and this one is from Power Automate. If I hide the left-hand navigation and top navigation, the business logic that you use are pretty identical. The designer is pretty identical because Power Automate is built on the top of Logic Apps and it still share the same designer between these two products. What does that mean is if someone is familiar with Power Automate, they can also create Logic Apps as long as they have access to Azure. And that's why if you look at the Power Automate and if you click on the more option, you can export a Power Automate as a Logic App template, and then you can deploy that as a Logic App in Azure. That's why this option is available to us. Now let's see the demo of the same automation using Logic Apps. So as I mentioned before, I submitted two requests. One is this for the IT, we use the Logic App for that. Power Automate for that, and this one we use Logic App. So let me quickly go to the Logic App and show you the implementation. So this is my Azure portal, and this is the Logic App I'm using to automatically create a new team. And let's go ahead and click on the edit here. And here now I have opened this Logic App in the Logic App Designer. When it comes to Logic App, you have two options. You can use this designer, and if you don't like this, you're a hardcore dev and you don't want to do drag and drop, you can also switch to the code view. And here you can write your business logic, your JSON as well. So let's click on designer here. The implementation is exactly the same with one change. So there is no approval action available that is available to us in Power Automate. So here we will need to use a different kind of approval action. It's called approval based on email. So if the action is if the request is approved, then we are using the exact same thing where we're calling the get user, getting the unique identifier for the user based on the email address, and then we're calling the graph API using the HTTP action here. So one important thing is the licensing for Azure Logic Apps is different. It is pure since it's part of Azure, everything is consumption based and it's very cheap as well. So let's say if you are calling this Logic App maybe 10 times a day, then maybe you'll be paying a fraction of dollar every day for the execution. So now let's say, so this Logic App should have sent me an email. Let me go back to my inbox. And scroll up. Oh, sorry, wrong email address. Sorry about that. Let me go back to this one. All right, so this is the email I got from the Logic App. Now, how will I know that I got this email from Logic Apps or not? So scroll down. Here it will say like which particular service sent this email. So here it says Logic App. And since I use the approval action available in Logic App, that only allows me to take action using the email address. If you compare that with Power Automate allows you to use email as well as you can use the Power Automate's action UI as well to take action here. So let me go here and click approve. And since it's approved, if everything is fine with the implementation of Logic App, a new team should get created automatically within a few minutes. Now, while that is happening, any questions or comments so far? Let's see how our Logic App is doing right now. Okay, looks like it was a success. So let's go back and Let's go back to the teams. Looks like the new team got created. That's why I see this here. Perfect. So let's go to the teams. And this time we use cells as a name. So as you can see, there should be a new team got created, cells and M65 collaboration. Again, since we use the standard template, it is just an empty team with a general channel. So this was a quick demo of using the Logic Apps and Microsoft Graph API to create a team automatically. So any questions so far before we go to the last section of this talk? Okay, I take that as a no. So in case you are interested getting your hands dirty with Microsoft 365, however, you don't have the required access, then there is a really good program available from Microsoft called Microsoft 365 Developer Program. You just have to go to this link and sign up for this program. And once you sign up, you can get your personal Microsoft 365 E5 subscription for free. This subscription will come with 25 users and you will have global admin access. And the subscription will be valid for 90 days and you don't have to use any credit card. And after 90 days, if Microsoft finds out that you're using this subscription for training and development, Microsoft will automatically extend your trial period for 90 days and they will keep on doing it as long as you're using this tenant for personal training and development. I am using one tenant through this program from last 2.5 years. If you would like to sign up, if you don't want to use this, then the only option you have is you can sign up for a free trial where you have to use a credit card. Now to use Logic Apps, you need to have Azure subscription. Now, if you want to get a personal Azure subscription, these are the various options available to you. If you have access to MSDN, you can get a personal Azure subscription by going to the MSDN portal and activating your Azure credits. This is an excellent way to have your own subscription with predefined credit limits, and you don't have to use credit card here. So that means if I consume all the $150 of credit in a particular month, I won't be charged anything extra. And the next month, again, my credit will set to $150 and I can resume my subscription and start using it again. You can also sign up for free trial. Depending on your country, you get some free predetermined amount. In United States right now, we get $200 of credit that we can use. However, you need to use credit card with this option. There is another option called Azure for Students where you don't need a credit card. All you need is a valid EDU account from a participant school or institution. And right now in United States, you get $100 of credit. And again, depending on your country, this credit will vary. So hopefully the contents we covered today made you explore some of the options available for automation using the Microsoft Graph API and Power Automate and Logic Apps. And if you don't have your personal Microsoft 365 tenant, definitely sign up for Microsoft 365 Developer Program. So these are the things we covered today, and these are the references we use. With that, we come to an end. So thank you very much for listening to me from last 50 minutes. These are my contact details. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me. I'm also available on LinkedIn and on Twitter. With that, thank you very much for coming, and let me know if you have any questions in the chat window. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prashant. Wow, fantastic. A great way to end the today's boot camp. Prashant, could you share your contact details in the chat for those people who want to easily connect with you, whether it's your blog or your YouTube or your email? If you could just include it in the chat window, then they will have easier access to connect with you. But Prashant, there are no other questions. I think everything that you explained was very, well informed and very descriptive and very illuminary to help people get started with the development. So I think that's been really helpful. So once again, thank you, Prashant, for closing off the first day of the boot camp. Do you have any announcements to make to the community regarding what you're up to next?
No announcement, but thank you. Thanks for organizing this, Raz, and rest of the organizers. I know it takes quite a bit of efforts to organize the community events, and you do that consistently with other members, so that's highly commendable. Thank you for Prashant, everything you do for the community.
Thank you for making this happen, Prashant. Always a great pleasure. So there you go, guys. So that's the last session of the day. Prashant, thank you once again. And I think everyone will need to get some rest now for tomorrow for the day 2. So I just want to thank everyone and get some rest. And we have a start. We start in exactly 12 hours, just short of 12 hours for the next day, for day 2. So get some rest. I want to thank all the speakers. Thank you, Prashant, again for giving me. It's re-energizing me. I have to say, every time you do a session, you always energize me and get me excited. So thank you for that. It's been a long day for me as well, and I feel like I've just had. Feels better than a cup of coffee, I have to say. It's very your energy is very infectious. So I have to say, is very good, Prashant. So thank you for sharing that energy as well as your knowledge. So that's it, guys. So we will close off for today. Our last sessions were in the USA. By the way, Prashant, whereabouts in the USA are you currently calling from?
I'm calling from Washington, D.C. area.
Wow, fantastic. Excellent. So big thanks for joining us from Washington today. Thanks to everyone who's attended, lasted the entire day, and we'll carry on tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, everyone. See you all tomorrow. You have the meeting link already provided for tomorrow's boot camp. If you don't have the link, it's